if you've ever been to a combat lifesaver course, the most awkward part of it wasn't the NPA tube, but a group of full men watching you cry and telling you to just swallow. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, comment, do all those good things. They help me out quite a bit. As far as supporting the channel, guys, multiple venues to do that. You can buy t-shirts from Alonzo Defense Group as well as belts. Discount code is Garand, and that will get you all that goodness. If you're not looking for that and you're looking for ammo, you have two venues. You have Freedom Munitions and, of course, LEX Ammo. Discount code is Garand with no spaces. With that stuff out of the way, we're going to do a video that has been much requested, but I've been very hesitant to make, and that is basics of individual first aid kits. And the reason being is that I'm not a medical professional, so I don't feel completely comfortable giving you guys a bunch of medical advice. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is tell you about some of the basic contents you should have in an individual first aid kit that you should carry with you. And I've verified these from both myself and then from other combat medics in all the different various branches, all the way from corpsmen to Army combat medics. So I've referenced different sources to get their opinions. Everybody's a little bit different on what they prefer and what they like to carry and how they like to carry it. So just realize that there's not specifically a right way, but there is a wrong way as far as not carrying enough equipment. So let's talk a little bit about individual first aid kits. So first off, why should you carry one? Because your life matters, and you don't want to die. You might have all the coolest, most Gucci airsofting / shooting gear in the world, but if you have a negligent discharge on the range, or somebody has a negligent discharge and that round goes through your leg and it severs from your femoral or whatever, what have you, and you don't have the implements and the tools to save your own life, you're going to die. So make sure that you carry those. I do know that individual first aid kits can get a little bit pricey. But at the same time, if you're buying like $1,000 ARs and stuff, you should take a little bit of those funds and put them into a good individual first aid kit to ensure that you don't die. So I carry two individual first aid kits on me typically. So one of those is always on my belt, and then one of those is going to be on my plate carrier. And they both have different purposes. So everybody's going to carry slightly kind of different individual first aid kit as far as what company they're going to get it from. A couple great companies out there: Crow Medical, Dark Angel Medical, and Blue Force Gear with their Micro Trauma Now kit. So on my belt, I carry the Micro Trauma Now kit. So you can see it right here. Now it looks a little bunched up, being close to everything kind of on the belt, but when it's around your body, it's bent and that type of thing, so it's easier to get to it. Now with these, all the contents are contained right in here. It has two pull tabs on either side. That way I can get to it from either side of my body. And that's kind of a general theme we want to look at with our individual first aid kits. Make sure that you can get to it with both hands if one's disabled or at a weird angle and that type of stuff. Now, this particular IFAK does not have a tourniquet in or on it. My tourniquets are typically carried in the front of my pants pocket, in the dip pocket. So if I go to the front of my pants right here, you can see this is where I have my tourniquet. Now, as far as what tourniquet to get, I have most of my experience with the cat tourniquets, but the soft T wide tourniquets are much vetted and have a lot of experience behind them. A lot of people have really good things to say about them. So I would say carry either. Probably the soft T wide is a better option in most cases. Now, I haven't used a soft T wide in real life. I've only used the cat. So the cat has served me well. And again, if you're going to put a tourniquet on, it's probably going to hurt unless they're unconscious. So tourniquet, I always keep it in my front pocket or in an ankle pocket. Sometimes I carry two and then another two on my plate carrier. So again, it's going to depend on what you do and what you need and that type of thing. If you're a cop, you might not need so many tourniquets. You might opt to carry this in some type of belt-mounted holster or something like that. So tourniquet. Now, going back to my first aid kit. So Blue Force Gear Micro Trauma Now. Some people have a problem. There's one piece of Velcro at the back that retains it, and sometimes these have a tendency to pop out. Usually that happens to people who have not bought the med kit that comes from Blue Force Gear, because it's kind of made to put enough pressure to where this thing's not going anywhere. So I've never had this pop out, but buddies who did not buy the supplied medical kit from Blue Force Gear have had that problem, and I do know that it's expensive, so that does suck, but at the same time I think that this kit is really worth it. So when you pull it out, you get your nice little package, and then from there you can get into it and get what you need. As far as typical products that you want inside your individual first aid kits, I'm going to read it off because it's a good list. And typically what was recommended to me is that you have at least one combat gauze, one Israeli bandage, 2 chest seals, 1 decompression needle, 1 nasopharangeal airway, 1 casualty card to say what you've done, especially like a tourniquet, something like that. You don't want to have some type of medical worker get there and not realize there's a tourniquet on some appendage. Some type of tape, usually I use frog tape, but there's many others out there. And then 2 tourniquets, either a cat or a soft T wide. So that's the typical list. Now within the Blue Force Gear Micro Trauma Kit, it has a couple things in it. Now there are advanced kits and there are basic kits. The particular kit that I have is the advanced kit. That's because of what I do and that type of thing. But if you're doing something different, the basic kit might work pretty well for you. But let's talk about the advanced kit, which I think is a little bit more robust and good for what most people are typically doing. So first off, it does not have a tourniquet on it. So for me personally, I carry my tourniquet in my front dip pocket of my Cry pants. Now, depending on your uniform, you might carry it at a different location. Some different locations that you might carry your tourniquet. You might carry it at the front of your plate carrier. Now right here, I have a small tourniquet holder from Titan Tac Innovations. Cool little company, but anyhow, it rides right below my mag pouches on my plate carrier. So that is one option that you have. All right, so once you have tourniquet placement out of the way, the Blue Force Gear Micro Trauma Now kit is pretty good. So anyhow, a couple things that you have on it. First off, you have Quick Clot, which is always necessary. So we have Quick Clot, folded down pretty small. Again, that's kind of the cool thing about the Micro Trauma Now is how small it is and how easily it fits on your belt. So we have a Quick Clot. We have 2 HyFin vent chest seals. Always have HyFins. HyFins are my favorite. Now I know every medic's going to be a little bit different, and I'm sure some people will disagree with me, but these work pretty well. Besides that, we also have a medical trauma bandage right here. Again, it packs down pretty small. We, of course, have our tan gloves, non-latex, always on latex. We have our nasopharangeal tube, right? Just swallow. That's going to work out for my corpsmen and my Navy guys. And then we have frog tape. So there are lots of different types of medical tape, and I'm sure a medical will hop in there and yell at me or something like that, but I've been a big fan of frog tape from Phokus Research Group, so I'll make sure I put a link down there in it for you guys. Now, that's some great medical tape right there. Now, so that is a basic medical kit that we have from Blue Force Gear. Pretty good, pretty robust, gets a lot of things done. Now, is it the best? No, but it does work for the most part. Now, in something that you'd wear on your plate carrier, you can probably have something a little bit more robust, something that's easier to organize. Again, make sure that it's organized. That way, if you have to get away from your equipment, like your medic has to drag you, that it's not just all spilled on the ground, that it's retained to some extent or another. That way you're not losing all that kit, because then the medic has to use more of his kit, and then you're just screwing the medic. So again, based on SOPs and a lot of other things, you might have your IFAK on your plate carrier set up a lot differently than how I have mine set up on my belt, or hell, you might just have one IFAK and that might just be on your plate carrier due to the amount of space that you have and that type of thing. So again, tailor the needs of your individual first aid kit to precisely what you do. Now, besides first aid kits, I wanted to touch very quickly on boo-boo kits. So a boo-boo kit is going to differ from a individual first aid kit in that the individual first aid kit is pretty much making sure that I'm not dying from some insane trauma that occurred, like I got shot or an IED went off and severed something terrible. But with the boo-boo kit, it's more of the problems that you encounter from just living in the field and living in kind of more austere conditions and that type of thing. So bullets will kill you and bombs will kill you and that type of stuff, but also infection will also put you out of the fight and that type of thing. So it's important to be prepared for those types of issues. And of everything that I've ever done, I use the boo-boo kit the most, of course, because military is about 99% boredom, let's be honest here. So in the boo-boo kit, typical things that I carry, I usually carry a small triangular bandage, I usually carry some gauze pads to soak up blood, that type of stuff, like you slice your finger, dude, all the time, right? Don't let military 18-year-old kids play with knives, but we do. So make sure you carry those. Band-Aids, I always carry a ton of Band-Aids. I'll say carry a minimum of 10. I usually probably carry up close to 20 because buddies are always bumming them from me. So Band-Aids, I usually carry like 10 to 15 large ones and maybe 5 or 6 small ones or something along those lines. A lot of guys also carry the butterfly bandages to kind of pull the skin together. Those are really good for any type of head wound and that type of thing. So I carry a couple of those as well. Besides that, here's where medics can argue with me is super glue. So I like using super glue, especially on like my cuticles when they crack and that type of thing. It's not the best. It does kind of damage tissue a little bit, but it works. If you can get some of the actual skin surgical glue that's used in emergency rooms and that type of thing, if you have that hookup, then get that kind of stuff because it works really well. But I always carry super glue, or if I can get that Dermabond, yeah, I use that stuff. That stuff's awesome. Besides that, alcohol prep pads, you can never have enough. Usually I carry about 10. I also carry some iodine prep pads as well, depending on the situation. So carry both of those. The biggest lifesaver is going to be triple antibiotic ointment. So always, always, always carry that because If you've been in the field for any amount of time, you know how easy it is to get some type of infection from a cut. So that ointment will save your life and make sure that you prevent infection, because there's nothing less cool than dying of a blood infection. That just sucks, right? Or just dying in general just sucks. So don't let it happen. If you can try to prevent it, but you still die, at least you look cool because you tried to prevent it. But always triple antibiotic ointment, highly recommended. A couple other things that are going to help you out: burn gel. You're always going to burn yourself. You don't know how hot those MRE pads can get, be careful. Moleskin, you're always going to get some jacked up feet out there, probably not even your own. Usually it's other people, but always carry it just in case. It's worth it. It doesn't weigh that much, and it's absolutely worth it. It's so small. Lip ointment, I'm a huge fan of those little girl, like egg blue chapstick things. I just love them. I don't know why. They feel so good on your lips. So highly recommend. Highly recommended. Just take care of your lips. They're important. Besides that, a couple of other things that you might want to have are electrolyte packets. So I get those little rice ones that the medics can just give you, but just carry some type of electrolyte packet. Those things are a huge pick-me-up when you're out in the field. And then, of course, antidiarrheal, antihistamines, and some type of aspirin. Some guys carry ibuprofen. Talk to your medics about carrying ibuprofen before you do it in the field. There might be some situations where it's not a good idea to take that, so make sure you consult with them. As much as I do love ibuprofen when I'm at home, there can be some issues with it. So guys, those are kind of some very basics of individual first aid kits and a little bit about boo-boo kits. There is so much more we can go into as far as organization and retention and prepping these medical supplies for actual use, actually using them. So we'll be doing some more courses. We're going to be talking with a couple more combat medics. We're going to be getting into this more over the next couple months. But I wanted to do a small prep and a small primer on some of the items that you might want to get your hands on to at least prepare yourself. And again, guys, with all of this, training really matters. If you don't have the training to use these items, you're going to be screwed. So make sure you get that training. I will be recommending some medical training groups. I'll be doing some work with them over the next couple months, so I'll be recommending those to you soon. And as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for next week. I know there's some craziness with YouTube going on with firearms. Don't worry, we're staying around. We might have to kind of readjust fire on a lot of the things that we talk about. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, guys. And that firearm content will be hosted elsewhere. So it's not going away. You're just going to get more Garand, just more of me. It's going to be great. I got nothing else for you. Take care, guys. Wool socks. Highly recommend wool socks. If you're doing any type of field events or anything like that, there's nothing better. I don't know why they feel so good, even in high heat. Wool is just the way to go. They have saved my feet multiple times. A couple various brands I'd recommend, Smart Wool or Darn Tough. Both are excellent and will serve you well. So don't forget about those wool socks.